Alright, response video to Pyro, sort of, and anti-bullshit man. Two different kind of subjects, but really the same subject. Because one sort of gets to the root of what philosophy is, and the other one kind of just gets to the end game of what philosophy is. So anyway, starting with Pyro, he did his 4-part series on just explaining, how he became a professional philosopher. And I guess he has professional credentials. That's what we found out. And what that basically means is he went to Berkeley, the place where brains go to eat a bunch of cotton candy and die of hypoglycemia. Yeah. It's it sounds like something, but it's really nothing. Matt's at Berkeley. I mean, come on. And they think it's okay to believe that molecules have ambition. Yes, they have an ambition. So anyway, I mean, it just gets a little bit laughable. Even the whole concept of credentialed philosophers. What does that mean? They read all the books of Babel, the entire Babel collection, for all of mankind, for all history. They've got the whole historical Babel collection and they read them all. I don't know. I mean, that might be a liability to rational thinking, because you'll have so much crap in your head you won't be able to think at all. And you might know a few professional terms like teleology or something, so you might be able to talk really gay. Yeah, whoop-de-doo again. No, really, I don't want to malign the time you've spent thinking. That's a good thing. But doing it in some sort of, I don't know, cloistered atmosphere of pomposity is, I don't know, acknowledged by pulp culture to be meaning something. Popular culture says, yes, Berkeley means something, but it really doesn't mean shit. It's living off of old legacies anyway. They made the bomb somewhere around there. The bomb people were somewhere from there. So therefore they have credentials. But yeah, Berkeley hasn't really produced anything for a long time. Anything reasonable. But anyway. Alright, so I just figured I'll give you my coup de main forte. Yeah, that's a good word. Coup de main forte. Whatever it is. My credentials as a philosopher. Well, first conscious moment I really remember, like really vivid one, not little playpen spinny things, but I mean really sharp one, is looking out my window with wet diapers, and saying, what the fuck? Where am I? What is this? Whoa, look at this shit. Where are we? What is this? How do we get here? Just being a little startled. Like all of a sudden I was here, and I was like, whoa, I'm here. Whoa, 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 whoa. What is all this stuff? And so I started asking the questions, what, wow, what? And I got all these little bogusy, fluffy answers. God says so. Well, it's the way it is. I love that one. Well, it's the way it is. It's been that way a long time. That's like the excuse for everything. So anyway, and then I went to the University of Ant Hill. That was my first college. Out in the front yard, and I got to know the ants. And I guess that's when I first realized that there was sort of a difference between me and the ants. I had something they didn't have. I had a capacity to make these judgments and all this thinking stuff, and I knew like what happened yesterday and all that kind of crap, and I concluded, were quite oblivious to all that stuff and seemed to only have the mission of crawling up my leg and getting into my underpants. And I found that sort of irritating, because they were little bitey ants. But anyway, they were fun to play with, and I learned a lot from them. So I thought it was pretty good school. Because they did lots of things. They had lots of tricks, but like I said, I started to understand the difference between a psychology and a philosophy. They were just psychologies, and I had a philosophy. I had a capacity to know things and to define things and describe things, and they couldn't do any of that, and I could. And so that's when I sort of got the idea that there's a difference between this psychology thing and this philosophy thinking thing. So I got the idea that there's a difference between, you know, mechanical stuff we do because we're made to do it, and where we just sit and look at an anthill and start contemplating it, which is, you know, we don't have to do it. It's not like eating or pooping, you know, it's like not something we have to do. So anyway, then after that, you know, by the time I guess I was, you know, 10 or 11, I went to the University of Charlie the Turtle, and he was a three-legged turtle. And so he taught me a lot of stuff. I mean, he kind of, you know, as I started to try to figure out what, you know, turtles are sort of interesting because they move and then they just stop and they look around and their eyes blink and they say, you know, and you're just saying to yourself, what the hell is he thinking? I mean, what's so complex? I mean, either you go left or you go right or you go forward, but you must have some idea what you want to do. But they never seem to really have a really coherent idea. And so something sort of had to happen. Like you could make a gesture or something and spook them a little, and then they go that way. Or else you could, you know, once they recognized you as a vending machine, they would come to you, you know, and they would reflexively or whatever, they would know that they would associate you with something they wanted, and then they would try to get what they wanted. And so I just got the idea of this, you know, further solidification of my idea that this, you know, this psychology thing, and that this is what runs these organisms, is psychology. You know, not any kind of, they're not doing any big thinking, they're just doing little thinking, like, you know, well, it looks spacier that way than it looks this way, or some other simple kind of equation. And you know, and then I got the whole empathy thing because he had the three legs, and you know, I'm watching him try to get through life with the three legs, and in a way he seemed quite comfortable with the three-legged thing, but some of it didn't make much sense because he kept trying to use a leg that wasn't there. So he would, like, you know, he'd be eating something, he'd want to tear at it, and he'd try to tear at it with a stump, and you know, he can't do that. And but he never seemed to be able to quite figure that out. And so anyway, it got me to thinking about his whole life, you know, and the fact that he's just, no one ever taught him how to do anything. So I was kind of like, wow, you're pretty functional for somebody who never went to school and nobody ever explained the facts of life to you. But, you know, he got along pretty good. He knew how to do certain things and he figured it out. And so I was pretty impressed by that. I learned from it, let's just say. All right, somewhere around the same time, you know, 10, 11, 12, it dawned on me, the facts of life. I started adding up all this little bullshit. And I realized this, then I figured out this ego thing. I sort of heard the word thrown around, but I kind of like, you know, I gave it you know, Freud and the silly people, they use it one way, but I figured out what it really is. You know, and all it means is, I'm a selfish, motherfucking, conniving prick. And I figured that part out. I figured out that, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I'm out to get stuff I want because I want to be comfortable, because I have desires and I have ambitions and I have an ego and I want to feel good about myself and I want people to like me and I want all this stuff. And I figured out it was all just for me. You know, it was about me. And I cared about other people, sort of, kind of. But if I really was honest with myself, I realized, yeah, I was just a selfish fucker. And, you know, that's my psychology. And I realized the only thing that stops me from being a real super asshole is the fact that I could philosophically know that I was an asshole. And, you know, once that became possible, it was kind of liberating, because it just, you know, kind of took the pressure off, because I basically said, yeah, it's okay, you can be an asshole as long as your philosophy is aware that you're an asshole and informs you at appropriate times that you're being a fucking asshole. And so I think that kind of made me a better person. I mean, I felt better about it, you know. But I guess, like I said, part of why I felt better was because I was sort of given license to be an asshole, because I knew there wasn't much I could do about it. I mean, I kind of felt like, yeah, well, I can't undo my selfish nature, and so I just need a rationalization for it. And it was a good rationalization. Philosophy provided that. And I'm not saying it's just excuse making, but because it was more than that. And I, in hindsight, looking at it, I can see it was much more than that, because it was something that I carried with me for the rest of my life, was realizing that the equations have to be as pure as possible. When I'm looking at a circumstance, I've got to minimize my self-interest in the equation and just understand whether, well, yeah, if I'm just making if I'm making a deal about who's getting a broken leg and who's not, I can't let my self-interest corrupt that decision. I at least have to minimize that influence if I'm going to do anything reasonable. I mean, because selfishness isn't a faculty of reason. It's a faculty of a selfish organism. A self-controlled organism, self-motivated, self-organizing, as Matt would say. All right, enough for part one.